I froze, my phone trembling in my hand as the anonymous email's words burned into me. Weddings canceled. We've uncovered his lies. Lawyers are coming. You'll thank us later. My heart pounded like a jackhammer, the Seattle skyline blurring outside my apartment window. 1 week. 1 week until I was supposed to marry Liam, the man I'd fought for against my parents' relentless disapproval. Now this. A cryptic threat, dripping with malice, sent from a ghost account I couldn't trace. My parents, Richard and Margaret Thornton, had finally crossed a line I didn't think even they could stoop to. Or had they? The words echoed in my skull his lies. What did they know about Liam that I didn't? I stood in my Capitol Hill loft, surrounded by unpacked wedding favors and a half-finished guest list, feeling like the ground had been ripped out from under me. This wasn't just a power play. This was war. I'm Emily Harper, 30 years old, a tech startup founder who clawed her way out of a gilded cage my parents built for me. Seattle, October 2025, is my battleground, a city of drizzle and ambition, where my eco-design app is making waves in the tech scene, much to my parents' chagrin. They're old money, the kind of Seattle elite who sip martinis at the Rainier Club and think anything less than a corporate heir is beneath me. Dad Richard runs a hedge fund that bankrolls half the city's skyline. Mom, Margaret, is a socialite who curates charity galas like they're her personal empire. Me? I'm their only child, the daughter they groomed for an Ivy League degree and a suitable marriage to someone with a trust fund bigger than their egos. Instead, I built a startup from scratch, lived in a modest loft, and fell for Liam Carter, a community college art instructor from Tacoma who doesn't own a single suit jacket that costs more than his monthly rent. Liam and I met 2 years ago at a Capitol Hill art gallery fundraiser. I was there to network, shaking hands with tech brothers and philanthropists. He was on stage, accepting an award for his mentorship program, helping kids from rough neighborhoods find their voice through art. His speech raw, no notes, just passion hit me like a lightning bolt. He talked about second chances, about art saving him from a tough childhood. I introduced myself at the reception, and we ended up debating Basquiat over cheap wine until the staff kicked us out. Our first date was at a Fremont Street fair, eating food truck tacos and laughing over a caricature artist's sketch of us. He's all warmth and grit, with a crooked smile that makes my knees weak. No pretension, no agenda, just Liam, my parents. Hated him on sight. They wanted me to marry someone like Ethan Caldwell, a tech CEO with a penthouse and a yacht. Liam, with his beat-up Honda and student loans, was a slap in their face. When he proposed at Pike Place Market, under the neon glow of the public market sign, with his grandmother's vintage ring, I said yes before he finished asking. I knew. The storm it would unleash. Mom's voice on the phone was ice. We need to discuss this, Emily. Dad was worse, his silence louder than any lecture. They insisted on funding a wedding at a waterfront estate on Lake Washington-themed chandeliers, caviar, and a guest list longer than a CVS receipt. I wanted a small ceremony at Gasworks Park with food trucks and fairy lights. They laughed it off. What will people think? Mom said, clutching her pearls literally. The Caldwells had 1,000 guests at their daughter's wedding. The prenup fight was the first crack in the dam. Dad cornered me at their Mercer Island mansion, his voice low and commanding, like he was closing a deal. No daughter of mine marries without a prenup. Protect the family assets. I refused, my voice shaking but firm. Liam's not after? Your money, Dad. I trust him. His eyes narrowed, and Mom's fake smile faltered. That dinner was a minefield. Mom's passive-aggressive jabs about Liam's charming thrift store aesthetic. Dad's not-so-subtle hints about better options. I left feeling like I'd been chewed up and spit out, but I held on to the hope that they'd come around. I was wrong. The email hit me on a Monday morning, 7 days before the wedding. I was sipping coffee, scrolling through vendor confirmations, when my phone pinned. The subject line was blank, the sender a string of random numbers and letters. My stomach twisted as I read it. Weddings canceled. We've uncovered his lies. Lies. Liam had never hidden anything from me, not his student loans, not his rough upbringing, not even the time he got arrested at 19 for spray painting a mural on a condemned building. He told me everything, or so I thought. Lawyers are coming. My parents' law firm, Kessler and Stern, was notorious for shredding opponents in court. What could they possibly have on Liam? My hand shook as I dialed him, but his phone went to voicemail. I called Mom, voicemail. Dad, voicemail. The silence was deafening. I paced my loft, the Seattle rain smearing the windows like tears. My startup office was a 10-minute walk away, but I couldn't focus on work. Not with this. I grabbed my keys and headed to my car, determined to confront my parents at their mansion. That's when I saw it my Prius, parked on the street, sat lopsided, all 4 tires slashed. A crumpled note was tucked under the windshield wiper. Back off, or worse comes next. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't just a family feud anymore. This was something darker. I snapped a photo of the note, my hands trembling, and called Liam again. Still no answer. My mind raced. Had they gotten to him too? I took an Uber to my parents' place, the driver's chatter about the Seahawks barely registering. Their mansion loomed like a fortress, all glass and sharp angles, a monument to their wealth. The housekeeper let me in, her eyes avoiding mine. They're not here, Miss Emily. I didn't believe her. I stormed upstairs to Dad's office, my heart pounding. Papers were scattered across his desk-labeled documents, photos, a USB drive labeled Carter file. My blood ran cold. Photos of Liam at a bar with a blonde woman, laughing, his arm around her. The timestamp, 3 weeks after our first date. My parents' voices echoed in my head from a dinner last month, when I'd overheard them whispering about a deep dive into Liam's past. They'd hired a private investigator. I grabbed the USB and shoved it in my pocket, my pulse racing like I'd just stolen evidence from a crime scene. Back in the Uber, I called my best friend, Mia, a graphic designer who'd been my rock through this mess. They're trying to sabotage us, I said, my voice cracking. They slashed my tires, hacked my life, and now this email. What the hell is going on? Mia's voice was steady, but I could hear her worry. This is next level. You need to talk to Liam, and maybe a lawyer. I hung up, my mind spiraling. Was Liam hiding something? Or were my parents just that desperate to control me? The Uber dropped me at my office, a small space in Pioneer Square filled with vision boards and prototypes for my app. I locked the door behind me, paranoid now, and plugged in the USB. My screen flickered, then froze. A pop-up appeared. Data breach detected. Sensitive client files compromised. My heart stopped. The breach email, sent from my company server, pointed fingers at Liam, claiming he'd accessed proprietary data. My startup, my life's work, was crumbling, and my parents were pulling the strings. I sank into my chair, the weight of betrayal crushing me. My parents had always been controlling, but this was ruthless. I thought back to the charity gala last month, where Dad had called Liam a gold digger in front of half of Seattle's elite. The room had split tech friends rallying behind me, old money types nodding along with Dad. Social media lit up afterward. Margaret's cronies spreading whispers about Liam's shady past. Now, this email, the tires, the data breach, it was all connected. They weren't just disapproving. They were waging a campaign to destroy us. I drove to Liam's apartment in Tacoma, my nerves frayed. He opened the door, his face pale, eyes bloodshot. What's wrong? I shoved the phone at him. the email glaring on the screen. Did you know about this? What lies are they talking about? He read it, his jaw tightening. Your parents are insane. I haven't lied to you, ever. He pulled me inside and we sat on his worn couch, surrounded by art supplies and half-finished canvases. He admitted to a brief overlap with an ex Sarah Miller early in our dating. It was nothing, he said, his voice low. We were already done, just tying up loose ends. I went to her brother's birthday at a bar, that's it. The photos burned in my mind. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered, my voice breaking. I didn't think it mattered, he said, his eyes pleading. I was falling for you. It was over before we got serious. I wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at me. My parents' email had planted a seed, and it was growing. I left his place, needing space, and checked into a hotel downtown. That night, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Cancel the wedding, or the next leak goes public. My stomach churned. This wasn't just about Liam anymore. They were coming for me, my business, my life. I called Mia again, my voice barely above a whisper. They're not stopping, Mia. They hacked my company. They're threatening me. She didn't hesitate. You need to fight back, Em. Get a lawyer. Now. The next morning, I met Sarah Nguyen, a family lawyer recommended by Mia. Her office was a cluttered haven in Belltown, walls covered in legal books and kids' drawings. I spilled everything, the email, the tires, the data breach, the USB. Sarah's eyes narrowed as she jotted notes. Your parents are playing dirty, but they're overreaching. That trust fund? If it's from your grandparents, they can't touch it without a legal fight they'll lose. She agreed to dig into the USB in the breach. As I left her office, I noticed a black SUV idling across the street. The same one I'd seen yesterday. My skin prickled. I snapped a photo of the license plate and sent it to Sarah, my hands shaking. They're following me. Back at my loft, I found an X post going viral, posted by an account linked to Mom's PR firm. It accused Liam of forging credentials to get his teaching job. The comments were a bloodbath, half defending Liam's work with kids, half calling him a fraud. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. You've been warned. Drop him. I threw the phone across the room, my breath ragged. This wasn't just about a wedding anymore. It was about control, power, and how far my parents would go to bend. Me to their will. I drove to Tacoma, to Liam's parents' house, needing an anchor. Karen, his mom, a nurse with a no-nonsense warmth, hugged me tight. Your family now, Emily. Screw their money. Their small backyard was already decked out with string lights, a makeshift plan for our DIY wedding. Liam's dad, Mike, a mechanic, was rigging a tent with neighbors. Their support was a lifeline, but the threats kept coming. That afternoon, the community center we'd booked for the reception got a cease and desist letter from Dad's firm, claiming zoning violations. It was a lie, but it spooked the manager. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel, tears burning my eyes. How much more could they take from me? Then a knock on my window. I jumped, expecting another threat. Instead, it was my grandmother, Evelyn Thornton, standing there in a tailored coat, her silver hair gleaming under the streetlights. Emily, she said, her voice calm but sharp. We need to talk. I blinked, stunned. Evelyn lived in San Francisco, a retired philanthropist who rarely visited without warning. She'd always been kind but distant, a legend in our family for her quiet power. Did my parents send you? I asked, my voice tight. She smiled, a glint of defiance in her eyes. Oh, darling, they'd lose their minds if they knew I was here. She slid into the passenger seat, her presence filling the car like a storm. About to break. 60 years ago, I was you, she said, her voice low, almost a whisper. In love with a man my parents called beneath me. They crushed it, threats, lies, the works. I gave in. I won't let you make that mistake. My heart raced. What are you saying? She handed me an envelope, her grip firm. I'm the co-trustee of your fund. Your parents have no power to withhold it. And I've made some calls. Her eyes twinkled. The venue, the caterer, the florist, they're back on. Your wedding's happening and on your terms. I stared at her, my breath catching. How? She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial hush. Let's just say I reminded a few people that the Thornton name doesn't belong to Richard alone. And I found something else. She paused, her gaze piercing. A forged document in your trust fund, buried in your father's files. He tried to add a clause to control you. It's illegal. And I'm taking him down. My world tilted. A forgery. My own father. The USB in my pocket felt like a ticking bomb. Evelyn's words hung in the air, heavy with promise and danger. I clutched the envelope, my mind racing with questions I couldn't yet answer. Who was behind the anonymous email? What was on that USB? And how far would my parents go to stop me? One thing was clear. This wasn't just about a wedding anymore. It was about my freedom, my future, and the truth I was about to uncover. The rain outside thickened, drumming against the car like a warning. 48 hours from now, everything would change. But how? The rain didn't stop. It pounded Seattle's streets, a relentless rhythm that mirrored the chaos in my head. I stood in my Capitol Hill loft, clutching the envelope from Grandma Evelyn, her words echoing like a battle cry, a forged document. In your trust fund, I'm taking him down. My father, Richard Thornton, had tried to rewrite my future, and now I held proof of his betrayal in my hands. But the USB drive labeled Carter file burned a hole in my pocket, whispering. Questions I wasn't ready to answer. What was on it? Was it just more of my parents' lies, or something worse, something about Liam I didn't know? My wedding was 6 days away, and the clock was ticking louder than the storm outside. I barely slept that night, my mind caught in a tug-of-war between trust and doubt. Liam's earnest face, his crooked smile, kept flashing before me, but so did those photos of him with Sarah Miller, his ex, laughing at a bar. He'd explained it a casual hangout, nothing more, but the seed of doubt my parents planted was sprouting. I needed answers, not just about Liam, but about the lengths my parents would go to control me. The slashed tires, the hacked email, the black SUV tailing me, each felt like a move in a chess game I didn't know I was playing. By morning, my resolve hardened. I wasn't their pawn anymore. I met Liam at a coffee shop in Fremont, the kind of place with mismatched chairs and baristas who knew your name. He looked exhausted, his usual warmth dimmed by worry. You okay?" he asked, sliding into the booth across from me. I showed him the envelope from Evelyn, my voice low. "My grandmother's on our side. She says my parents forged a clause in my trust fund to stop us, and she's reinstating the wedding venue, vendors, everything." His eyes widened, relief flickering, but I wasn't done. I pulled out my phone, showing him the photo of the USB drive. "I found this in my dad's office. It's labeled Carter file. Any idea what's on it?" His face paled, and for a split second, I saw something guilt, fear. He shook his head. "I don't know, Em. Your parents are desperate. It's probably more of their lies." I wanted to believe him, but his hesitation lingered like a bad aftertaste. Doubt the coffee shop buzzed with morning commuters. But I felt like we were in a bubble, the world narrowing to this moment. "Liam," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, "if there's anything you haven't told me, now's the time." He reached for my hand, his grip firm. "I've told you everything that matters. I swear, Em, whatever's on that drive, it's not the truth about us." I nodded, but the doubt clung to me like damp clothes. I couldn't shake the feeling that the USB held a bomb waiting to detonate. Back at my loft, I plugged the USB into my laptop, my heart racing. A password prompt popped up. Of course, I tried variations of my parents' names, birthdays, even their anniversary. Nothing worked. Frustration boiled over, and I slammed the laptop shut. My phone buzzed, an unknown number, a voicemail. I played it, and my father's voice cut through the static, cold and deliberate. Emily, this is your last chance. Cancel the wedding, or we'll release what we found. It's not too late to make the right choice. My breath caught. Last chance? What did he mean? The voicemail ended, but the threat hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I forwarded it to Sarah Nguyen, my lawyer, with a single line. They're escalating. Sarah called me within minutes. This is intimidation, Emily. They're trying to scare you into submission. I'm digging into the trust fund documents, but you need to stay sharp. Don't open that USB on an unsecured device. It could be malware. Malware? The thought hadn't crossed my mind. My startup was already reeling from the client data breach, and now this. I glanced at the USB, its sleek black casing suddenly menacing. Was it a trap? A way to sabotage my company further? I locked it in my desk drawer, my paranoia spiking. Outside, the rain had slowed, but a black SUV idled across the street again. I snapped the curtains shut, my pulse hammering. They were watching me. The next day, I headed to my office in Pioneer Square, hoping work would ground me. Instead, I found chaos. The words traitor were spray painted across the glass door, red paint dripping like blood. My team, 5 scrappy coders and designers who'd poured their hearts into our eco-design app, stood outside, shell-shocked. What's going on? Asked Jake, my lead developer. I forced a calm I didn't feel. It's personal. I'll handle it. But inside, I was unraveling. This wasn't just about my wedding. My parents were attacking my life, my work, everything I built. I called the police, who took a report but offered little hope. Vandalism's hard to pin down without evidence, the officer said, his tone apologetic but useless. I texted Mia, my best friend, who showed up with coffee and a fierce hug. Your parents are unhinged, Em. This is straight up mob level crap. She wasn't wrong. The slashed tires, the hacked email, the vandalism. It was a coordinated assault. Mia scrolled through X on her phone, her face darkening. Look at this. A post from an account linked to my mom's PR firm was going viral. Local art instructor Liam Carter under investigation for fraud. Is he conning Seattle's tech darling? The comments were brutal, half defending Liam's work with kids, half calling him a scam artist. My social circle was fracturing, friends texting me with cautious, "Are you okay?" messages, while others bought into the rumors. The city was picking sides, and I was caught in the crossfire. I drove to Sarah's office, the black SUV trailing me 2 cars back. My hands gripped the wheel, knuckles white. I parked in a crowded lot, hoping to lose them, and sprinted inside. Sarah was waiting, her desk piled with legal files. Good news and bad news, she said, her voice steady. Good news, the trust fund is airtight. Your grandparents' documents have no clauses about unsuitable marriages. Your parents. Threats are a bluff. I exhaled, relief washing over me. Bad news? She hesitated. The USB could be a problem. If it's got fabricated evidence, or worse, something real, it could be used to smear Liam publicly. And your parents are leaning hard on your vendors. The community center just got a cease and desist letter claiming zoning violations. My stomach dropped. They're trying to kill the wedding entirely. I left Sarah's office, my mind spinning. The SUV was gone, but the weight of being watched lingered. Back at my loft, my phone buzzed with another unknown number. A text. check your email, last warning. My eyes shook as I opened my inbox. A new message from the same anonymous account. We have proof Liam's a fraud. Cancel now, or it goes to the press. Attached was a grainy photo of Liam at a bar, not with Sarah, but with a man I didn't recognize, handing him an envelope. The timestamp was recent last month. My heart stopped. Was this the lie my parents claimed to have uncovered? I forwarded it to Sarah, my fingers numb. What is this? Liam met me at Volunteer Park that evening, the city's lights glittering below us. I showed him the photo, my voice shaking. Who is this guy, Liam? What's in the envelope? He stared at the image, his face unreadable. I don't know. I've never seen this guy. This is staged. His voice was steady, but his eyes darted just for a second. I wanted to scream, to shake him, to make him tell me the truth. Liam, if you're hiding something, it's going to destroy us. He grabbed my shoulders, his gaze intense. I'm not hiding anything that matters. Your parents are twisting everything. Please, Em, trust me. I pulled away, my chest tight. I want to, but you need to give me something to hold on to. The next morning, I woke to a nightmare. My startup's X account was hacked, posting fake apologies for ethical violations linked to Liam. Clients were pulling out, investors were calling, and my team was in panic mode. I spent hours on damage control, my phone buzzing with notifications. Then a call from the waterfront estate, our original venue. Ms. Harper, we're reinstating your booking, the manager said, her voice nervous. Mrs. Thornton, your grandmother, made it clear we'd regret crossing her. I nearly dropped the phone. Evelyn, she was moving pieces I didn't even know were on the board. I met her at the Four Seasons, where she'd checked in for the week. Her suite was all elegance, crisp linens, fresh orchids, but her eyes were pure steel. I've spoken to the caterer, the florist, and the photographer, she said, sipping tea. They're back on. And I've sent a message to your father's firm. Any more stunts, and I'll expose his forgery to the press. I stared at her, my voice barely a whisper. You do that? To your own son? She leaned forward, her voice low, almost a growl. He's forgotten what family means. I won't let him ruin you the way my parents ruined me. She handed me a letter from her lawyer, confirming my trust fund was untouchable. And one more thing, she said, her eyes glinting. That USB. I've got a tech guy cracking it. We'll know what's on it by tomorrow. I left the hotel, my head spinning. Evelyn was my lifeline, but the stakes were higher than ever. That night, I got another text from an unknown number. You can't trust her, Evelyn, or someone else. I forwarded it to Sarah, my paranoia at fever pitch. The black SUV was back, parked outside my loft. I didn't sleep, my mind racing. With possibilities, was Evelyn playing a double game? Was Liam hiding something bigger? Or were my parents just that good at making me doubt everyone? The wedding day dawned crisp and clear, the Seattle skyline sparkling like it was putting on a show. I got ready at the waterfront estate, my minimalist dress, a sleek lace-trimmed gown from a local boutique, feeling like armor. Mia adjusted my veil, her voice fierce. You're a badass, Em.